sponsor is $500, and there's other sponsorship levels. The Granada Hills Parade, I'm sure you've all seen it, but it's the largest community event that we have in Granada Hills. It draws people from all over the valley, and we believe that we have more young people in our parade than any other parade in the valley, if not the city. There's also I bought a couple of these flyers also for people who want to be in the parade. We're always looking for groups to be in the parade. And it's also on the Granada Hills Chamber of Commerce website. So this is my letter for soliciting donations and the flyers for people to actually be in the parade, but it's in the Granada Hills website, and it's a very important event. Thank you.
Thank you, Bonnie.
Bonnie, can I get one of those photos?
All right, Melvin, you want to introduce yourself? Well, I'll introduce you. How's that? And you can have a few minutes of the public comment. This is Melvin Camus. Did I pronounce it right?
Right.
Melvin is our new representative with Dunn. Go ahead, Melvin.
Thank you. Yeah, good evening, everyone. I'm the new project coordinator from the Department of Neighborhood Empowerment, assigned to work in the Northeast and Northwest Valley. So I will be covering all the neighborhood councils from Chatsworth, Porter Ranch, all the way up east to San Tahanga. So I just started working last month, so I'm going around visiting all the neighborhood council, stakeholders, and board members to introduce myself, say hi. Some of you have, I sent an email introducing myself, and some of you have replied, so I wanted to, show my face so you can see who you're, communicating with on the other end. And I can't promise I'll be able to come to every one of your meetings. I have other neighborhood councils that meet on the same evening as yours. I have a North Hills East that meets tonight, and depending on the issue, if you make a request for me to come, I'll make it a point to come. Otherwise, I will be going to other meetings depending where the need is. But I will be communicating with your board president and the board for general matters. So at this point in time, I just wanted to make a couple of announcements. So we had a Congress last Saturday. Congress is the annual conference of neighborhood councils. It was held in City Hall this last Saturday. We had preliminary numbers that we have. We had close to about 700 people. Neighborhood council participants, board members, stakeholders who came to the event. It was a very well attended event, a lot of good feedback, and we have to build on for next year's Congress. It's held pretty much every either September or October. The next event for neighborhood councils is Budget Day, and so I don't remember you're looking at your agenda if you already have that appointments made or. We're asking every neighborhood council to appoint a couple of individuals to attend the Budget Day. It's going to be this year, October 26th, Saturday, October 26th at City Hall also. This is to fulfill one of the roles of neighborhood councils, which is to communicate with the elected officials, with the mayor's office, city administrative office on the budget, the city budget for next fiscal year. So the discussions start this day, and they move along until city council votes on the budget next spring. So we're asking for the board to appoint two representatives and send them over to participate in that day. And elections are coming up, and I understand you will be talking about that today, so thank you for being on top of that. And for those of you who do not receive our newsletter, actually, can see a show of hands who gets our newsletters here? Great, good show. So our department issues a newsletter every Friday where it's our main way of communicating with the neighborhood councils and stakeholders. And if you would like to subscribe to it, you can go to our website, which is empowerla.org. And on the bottom of the page, there is a subscription window where you can just input your email address. You can also do it via your smartphone. You can text the word Empower LA altogether, Empower LA to the number 22828, and then you'll get a request to submit your email address, and you'll start receiving our newsletter. And with that, if you need to communicate with me, the best way is to via email, which is melvin.canas, C-A-N-A-S, at lacity.org. And the department phone number is 213-978-1551. So with that, I'll be here for the next couple of hours and assist in any way I can.
Thank you, Melvin. We do have a budget advocate and an alternate.
Awesome.
All right. So that's all right. you.
Thanks for choosing us over North Hills East.
I'm sorry?
So thanks for choosing us over North Hills East.
Yeah, I thought you were gonna have a Jersey Mike, so I thought.
All right, any other public comment?
Yes, sir.
Yes, sir. I should say, as Ms. Kuzma is coming up for public comment, we are being recorded tonight. This is a public meeting, and anyone has the right to record either via audio or audio and visual. Go ahead, Ms. Kuzma.
Okay, I'm William Kuzman. I'm a stakeholder here in Granada Hills District and a homeowner for 25 plus years. I'm here tonight to request the invalidations of all motions within the parameters set forth by the Brown Act made by the Granada Hills Neighborhood Council South since November 2011. Be invalidated due to failure to comply with the Brown Act, Public Information Act, and the Granada Hills South Neighborhood Council bylaws. The following are the alleged violations committed by the Neighborhood Council Board of Directors: informal grievance invalidation request with requests for specific cures in compliance with the Brown Act. The current bylaws were dated September 9, 2012, revised by Dunn representative on August 8, 2013, and then posted to the Granada Hills website sometime in August 2013. The previous bylaws were dated 2009, where the governing document up until the new 2012 version was posted in August of 2013. The bylaws section that was violated, the objections of the Neighborhood Council, is to promote good planning and land use, fair taxation, representative government, and general welfare of the community of Granada Hills. The violation is that this council has not promoted good land use, and in the process ignored the general welfare of the community of the stakeholders. And the cure is to see the following sections for bylaws, outreach, and agenda posting. Next section, number 2, provided inclusive and open forums for the discussion and deliberation and collaboration of community issues. The council has failed to provide that inclusive open forum. See the related sections, including the outreach and posting requirements of the bylaws. Section number 4, collaborate with other organizations within the community to help them accomplishing their goals, which the Neighborhood Council determines to support and are consistent with these bylaws. 3, the collaboration with the Old Granada Hills Residents Group is not consistent with the Granada Hills South Neighborhood Council bylaws.
Yeah, there's a
The
meeting.
paragraph is discriminatory. It does not allow for the stakeholders a voice if they do not agree with the goals of a given community organization, especially if said organization is biased and not transparent to its public stakeholders. The bylaws committee is to remove this clause from the bylaws. It creates an atmosphere where serial meetings, Brown Act violations can occur, as the public may not have access to the deliberations and records of community groups
Ms.
that are not
Kuzma, you've
bound.
had 2.5 minutes. Your
Okay,
time's
thank
up,
you
sir.
very much. I'm sure you have lots of other public speakers that are here tonight.
Yes,
Do you have
do you have that in writing, sir?
Yes, I will be emailing it to the entire board after the meeting tonight.
Do you have it in writing now? All right, would you furnish a copy in writing to the secretary, please?
Not at this moment. I need to hold on to it for 1 minute, if you don't mind.
Sure. All right, any other public comment? Yes, ma'am, please come forward, give your name.
My name is Monica Stevens.
Well, come forward, please, first, so we can all hear you.
Oh, I'm sure my name won't change.
In continuation of Mr. Kuzman's,
Why don't you go
Article
up?
two.
Why don't you go up front so we can hear you?
Are you recording?
Article 2B.
Right, are you videotaping?
Yes, sir.
Okay, why don't you get up in the front so people can see who's coming up and gets videotaped and the audio's here.
Hold on. You have the floor, ma'am, you have 2 minutes.
Article 2, Section B, number 1. Inform the membership stakeholders and others of the upcoming issues, activities, projects, and/or changes which may affect or have the potential to affect the community. Violation. NC has failed to notify the stakeholders that individual property will be severely restricted by the RFA and the community plan. Cure. See outreach section. Section 2. Avoid interfering in the internal affairs of any individual, group, or organization. Violation. This is a one-way street and discriminates. Cure. Bylaws committee to revise this to include and avoid allowing any group to interfere with purpose and policy of the NC. Section 4, facilitate open debate on all aspects of any issue before the neighborhood council within reasonable parameters determined by the neighborhood council chair or acting chair of the meeting. Violation, President failed to allow public comment on general meeting agenda items. The NC failed to reach out and contact the stakeholders to facilitate debate on the RFA district proposed for Old Granada Hills residential homeowners. Cure, comply with NC best practices, the Brown Act, Public Information Act by encouraging the expression of stakeholders who may disagree with the NC actions to support of the mission or causes of any community good. 6, have fair and open procedures for conduct of council business. Violation, board meeting and standing committee meetings were not posted in compliance with the Department of Neighborhood Empowerment and Regulations, thus have not been fair and open to all stakeholders. Cure, see agenda posting section. 7, prohibit discrimination against any individual or group in our operations on the basis of race, color, creed, national origin, ancestry, sex, sexual orientation, age, disability, marital status, homeowner, renter status, income, or political affiliation. At a public comment meeting, I, meaning Mr. Kuzman, brought to the attention of this board that in 2007 it declined an at-large director position for the non-resident owners. The argument given to decline this representation was, those people do not have the same interest in our community as the people who live here.
Ma'am, your 2 minutes are up.
Thank you.
Any other public comment?
Ma'am, do you have a copy of that?
I have my copy, thank you, it is an amended copy.
Any other public comment?
Are we gonna get a copy for the record?
Yes, you will.
How do you-
After the end of
how do you
public
spell
comment,
this?
we will hand it to you.
Ms. Stevens, how do you spell your name?
Stevens,
And how about your first name?
Monica.
All right, seeing no other public comment, we are going to move on.
I continue, or?
I'm sorry, sir.
Or would I be allowed to let Mr. Kuzma?
No, Mr. Kuzma's head, come up this way, please. Introduce yourself, give your name to the secretary for the record, please.
My name is James Kuzma. I'm a member of community that I live in, currently the area of North Hills, which is becoming part of Granada Hills as soon as the process is completed. And I'm a little, I guess, surprised to learn that this has been going on right in the neighboring community. But it looks like where we were was William had brought out to the attention of the board that it declined an at-large director position for non-resident owners.
Can't hear you over here.
Can't hear a word.
Can't hear a word you're saying.
Sorry, I'll try to speak up. The argument given to decline the representation was those people do not have the same interest in our community as the people who live here. While this is not an item covered by this agreement, it's mentioned to establish the beginning of a very discriminatory ad. There are 1,300 residents in the proposed RFA boundaries. 230 are non-owner occupied, but over 30% of those non-resident owners reside in Northridge, Chatsworth, Granada Hills, and North Hills. Another 30% reside within the city limits of Los Angeles. These people are stakeholders too, and by failing to provide outreach to this group of stakeholders, the cure would be to create an at-large position on the Granada Hills GSNC Board of Directors for non-resident stakeholders. The requirement is the director owns a residential income property within the NC boundaries. In Section 8, the bylaws utilize the early notification system to inform the council on matters involving the city of Los Angeles and our community to enhance involvement in the decision-making process. The violation is the GHSNC has never utilized this system to put a stakeholder visits the GSHNC via the Neighborhood Empowerment website. There's no link to the meeting agendas for the GHSNC. There's an outdated outreach plan from 2009 and an old budget. The cure would be to use the ENS as dictated by Dunn policies, monitor the NC specific data and information on the Dunn NC webpage. Bylaws Section 10. Refrain from affiliating itself with any partisan political groups or organizations. The violation is that the president of GNSNC signed his NC title to a letter sent to DCP, Ray Collins, on the Granada Hills Knollwood Community Plan. The GHSNC did not approve the use of the GHSNC president's title on a city planning recommendation document generated by the old Granada Hills Residents Group president on the OGHRG letterhead. The cure would be to remove the president.
Sir, your 2 minutes are up, thank you. Any other public comment? All All right, seeing that there's no further
Vic?
public comment,
Do you want to have something to say? I'll turn this in now. Here you go ahead.
I don't see any hands up. All right, I'm declaring public comment closed. Let's move on. Public community speakers. I don't see Dario Del Cor here. Did I miss him? He's not here. Is there a representative from CD12 tonight? Anya? Don't see her right. All right. We do have someone, and I just want her to get up and say hi. Pamela Rose from the Friends of the Library. Pamela, come on up.
Actually, I'm from the library. I'm the manager of the Granada Hills Branch Library, and I'm just here to thank the Neighborhood Council South for the tremendous support that you've given the library, and to invite the stakeholders, if you've not been to the library, to come and visit us. We have a lot of resources, and library's been around for 51 years, and some of our newest initiatives that we're working on at this time are healthcare, which is actually in effect now, and answering a lot of questions about Obamacare. We are promoting citizenship and helping people directly become a citizen, and financial literacy. And our Friends of the Library is a organization that is our fundraising organization, and later this year they will be a neighborhood purpose support. So thank you so much, and I hope to see all of you at the library.
Thank you,
Pamela Rose?
yes, R-H-O-A-D-E-S, is that right?
RHOBES.
D-E-S, no way. All right, let the record reflect Mr. Askew and Mrs. Woolman are here. That's on the record. Officers reports. Mr. Schimmelheim will be here about 7:30. He's at a school event with his daughter, and so we will postpone his report. Brad, do you have any?
Just so everyone's aware, there were council votes, so there was council deliberation on some of the issues that came out of the neighborhood council working groups rather, since there were 3 of them this week. There's a committee meeting coming up next week that's going to address some of these same issues. I sent everybody the update on the information, so if you're interested, you can follow up, and I'm sure our Dunn representative can go into great detail about the status, so I'll leave it be at that.
Thank you. Anthony, do you have any secretary's report?
I do not.
All right, thank you. We'll postpone, as I said, any report from Brandon. I just want to give a brief report on the Congress and Neighborhood Councils. It was held last Saturday. Melvin touched on that briefly. I want to thank Anthony for attending, as well as Maria Fisk, our stakeholder, who went, and Krishna Crawford Velasco also attended. There was, if he says 700, I believe it, because there was a lot of people there. Some very interesting workshops and seminars. We split up so that we covered almost everything among the 4 of us. I have to report that Krista used his time well and did her ethics training, which is coming up next month, so they offered that. She was able to complete that. I attended the workshop on elections, and thus this is on the agenda tonight. Just briefly, the elections will be jointly conducted by Dunn and by the city clerk, and I got the impression that the city clerk was really pushing to move things up. I had intended to put the election issue on the November agenda, but they asked us to push it up if at all possible. And I said, if you can get me a stipulation worksheet that doesn't say sample on it, I'll put it on the agenda. So Glenn Bailey was good enough to get it together, and you have that as part of your packet. That's going to take several minutes to go through, but basically it's the same information as from the 2012 election that we'll need to decide on. It looks like we are in Region 2, as we were last year, and the election will be held in March. There will be about a 45-day window for candidate announcements. None of this is written in stone yet. They still haven't finalized it, but it looks like there'll be an expanded time for candidate applications. And we can expect to have our elections, I think, the first or second week in March. So you should be thinking about that now. I'll be talking to Dan Wall and to our outreach chair, Jeff Dunlap, about strategies for outreach events and how to publicize this as we get a little closer to election time. But that was interesting. Also had attended a seminar on where neighborhood councils are going in the next 10 years. And that was quite interesting. One of the featured panelists was Councilman Bernard Parks. And I was able to get in the first question because I was ready for that. And the question basically was, how are we going to get neighborhood councils to move from their current advisory position and get them more integrated with city council and increase the influence of neighborhood councils, just as a general proposition. And Councilman Parks' response was quite interesting. He basically said, well, you're going to need a charter amendment for that. I didn't want to get into the debate, but you know, I think his attitude is probably pretty representative of a number of city councilmen, in that first of all, they're very protective of their authority and their perks, and I think some of them see city neighborhood councils not as collaborative grassroots organizations that can help them, but as a threat to their power sometimes. So there's that. At least that was my perception in his answer. And frankly, you know, we're coming up now to one of the things that has to happen in the charter calls for review of neighborhood councils every 7 years. And we had our first review back in 2007. We're now due in 2014 for our second 7-year review. And I would hope that those that are, whether you're a stakeholder or a board member, that when they appoint this a new panel and they start talking about, you know, the future of neighborhood councils, that we speak up in terms of you know, we've been in an advisory role, but we want more say, especially in planning and land use issues. And you know, I think the mural ordinance, which we've been following, is a perfect example where neighborhood councils were completely shut out of the process. And you know, what I mean by integrated is when you have a process that calls for a community meeting, it should not be a question as to who should be hosting the community meetings. You already have a format for that. You already have a framework for it. So that's, without getting on my high horse completely, very interesting seminar and panel discussion. And again, I want to thank the other three board members and stakeholders that attended. Anthony, you have anything you want to add to that?
No, they went. I went to they had just a bunch of different